So welcome to this talk. My name is Alex. Now, we live in a world where we can essentially choose any experience we want to. And essentially it comes down to our mind, the way we think. You can see the light, you can see the dark, you can focus on all that threatens you, all that might go wrong in the future. You can focus on all the terrible things that are happening. And that's what the media does. The media presents us with a particular lens through which to see the world. We look at the world through the lens of all the bad things that are happening, because that's what the media presents us. And we get used to thinking that way. Because we're so used to watching the media present us with only the negative picture, then our mind adjusts accordingly and our mind starts to work the same way. This is why it's really important to disconnect from the media, because it's conditioning your mind to see things through a negative lens only. However, as much as there are bad things happening, in fact, way, way more than there are bad things happening, there are wonderful things happening on this planet. Really, really powerful and profound, deep changes are happening on this planet. But the only way we can become aware of those is to connect to our heart. Because it's our heart which is connected to all the really powerful, beautiful change that is happening. It's our heart that's connected to that deep, profound change. Because, all the terrible things we hear about on the news, it looks big and it looks like it's global, a global kind of, how would you say, a global ailment, a global disease, so to speak, the destruction, the conflict, the hatred, but actually that's not the case. That's an intense magnification by the media, and so it gives us this picture of the world being that way. But actually, there is so much love on this planet, there is so much goodness, there is so much positive change happening. And so that's why it's essential, absolutely essential, that we disconnect from the media, we disconnect from this negative stream of information, and we spend more time in nature. And we spend more time listening to our heart. Listening to the hope, the good news in our heart. Because our heart's been dragged down into the mud by all the negative thoughts we've had, all the negative experiences we've had, all the pain we've experienced, all the disappointment, all the times we've been hurt by other people, and all the terrible things we see in the world. That drags our heart down. However, our heart needs to be lifted up, because only when our heart is lifted up can we get a glimpse of what is really going on. Can we get a glimpse of the spiritual reality, the divine reality that exists on this planet, that is being expressed on this planet. Something divine is being expressed on this planet. But the only way you can see it is to allow your heart to be lifted up. Because when our heart's lifted, when there is a sense of optimism in our heart, a sense of trust and positivity, a sense of hope. When our heart's lifted up by these things, then we start to see the light. We start to perceive something which we weren't aware of before. And the best description I can give it is the light. We see the light, we feel the light, we feel inspired, we feel like there are so many reasons for us to be positive, to be optimistic, to be hopeful. So many reasons. And essentially, it's all in our hands, because we are the ones who choose whether to be negative or positive. We are the ones who choose what we focus on, what we give our attention to. Now, you could say that there are two different voices that we can listen to. One is the negative, critical, judgmental, aggressive, angry, hostile, defeated voice of our mind, which is talking to us in defeat and negativity all the time, anger and hostility all the time. That's one voice. However, there is another voice which speaks from our heart, which is reassuring, it's loving, it comforts us, it tells us that everything's going to be okay. It asks us to trust, to relax our heart, not to be afraid, not to be tense, but to relax and trust. Trust that we are being looked after. Trust that things will be okay. We're going to be okay. If we trust, if we relax, if we stop the struggle, if we stop the fight, if we stop fearing and worrying, if we just relax and open up and trust then everything will be okay. Everything will work out as it is intended to, as it is designed to. Everything will flow and everything will come to you that you need. You'll be provided for. You'll be protected. And it's very important to know that you will be protected. But you have to trust that. Because when we allow ourselves to go into states of fear and anxiety and worry about the future, then we're kind of making ourselves vulnerable to this realm of negativity and darkness, this realm of spiritual threat, which you could call the darkness. That is a threat when we step into its terrain, when we step into its territory. Then we are exposing ourselves to a danger. But it's a spiritual danger that we ourselves are allowing ourselves to be vulnerable to. And we make ourselves vulnerable to this threat by fearing, by worrying, by being anxious, by being angry, by judging. Any negative thought, it makes us vulnerable to the threat of the darkness. And that darkness is like quicksand. When our mind starts going in that direction, starts walking down the path of negativity and darkness, anger, hostility, and so on, misery, depression, hopelessness, when our mind starts walking down that path, then very quickly we find that we're walking into quicksand. And before we know it, our mind is consumed with negativity and we don't even realize it. We start believing all this negative images, all these negative visions of the future that our mind is being presented with by ourselves and by the media. We start to believe it and we start to live in that realm. We start to perceive the world and ourselves through this lens of negativity and darkness. And that's the biggest threat that exists in this universe. The biggest threat is that we start perceiving everything through this negative lens, which is an illusion. It's distorted. It's tainted. This lens is not real. We have to look through this other lens, which is the lens of our heart, which is, as I said, it also has a voice, and it tells us, trust. You will be okay. Stay in faith. Stay in positivity. Stay in hope. Don't go into fear. Don't go into anger. Don't go into negativity. Trust. Stay at peace. And then you will see that things are working for you. Life is working for you. The divine universal force of love is working with you, through you, and for you. But to see that, and you will see it, I promise you, to see that, you have to relax your heart. Take your mind away from all negative thinking, relax your heart, and trust. Trust that you are safe, protected, provided for, and that the right stepping stones will appear in front of your feet when you need them. But you must avoid anger, you must avoid negativity, you must avoid fear, you must avoid judgment and criticism and all the negative, that whole negative realm. You must avoid it if you are to see this path, because it is a path and you see it in front of you when you are in peace, when you are in trust, when you trust that there is something calling you forward to a beautiful destination, because there is a beautiful destination that awaits you. And it's impossible to describe it. Absolutely impossible to describe that destination. Because it's a spiritual reality and we can't understand spiritual realities. We can only perceive them in the moment. We can't understand them. So all I can tell you is how to turn in the direction of that path and how to start walking that path towards that spiritual reality, which will be revealed to you, which will change your perception, which will change your heart, which will reveal a new world to you. I can tell you how to realign yourselves, reorientate yourselves in that direction. And it's by listening to the other voice, listening to the voice that says, trust. Don't be angry, don't be afraid. Trust, come back to peace, breathe, relax, trust. Be in nature, do everything you can to support yourself, to be in that space of trust and peace. be in nature more. Stop watching the news. Stop trawling through YouTube, watching all these videos about all the bad things that are happening and all the conspiracies and all the terrible things that are going to happen in the future. Yes, there may be some truth to them, but the only way you can avoid the darkness, the only way you can avoid pain and suffering, is to step onto the path of light. Because the spiritual reality precedes the material reality. So you have to choose first. You have to choose the spiritual reality of light. You have to want the light. You have to want the goodness. You have to want the peace. And if you truly want those things, and it's very important that you do want them, that you choose them, because your heart takes you in the direction of what you desire. So if you desire those things, if you desire peace, if you desire safety, if you desire love and joy and beauty, and if you desire to live in a world where there is no darkness and no fear, no anger, if you desire that with your whole heart, then it will be so. You will move in that direction, and you will take the steps which lead you in that direction. But you have to want to. You have to want to turn your back on anger and judgment and criticism. You know, the human mind can be so harsh and cruel, and we think we're being intelligent, we think we're being superior, we think we're better than other people, because our mind is tricking us. It's separating us from each other by convincing us that we're intelligent, that we're better, that we're smarter, that we're more advanced, that we're more knowledgeable. So that's the way the human mind tricks us into separating us from our fellow man, when really we need to open our heart to everybody and forgive everybody. Try and understand everybody, even if there's a strong pull to judge them as, arrogant, or judge them as not being a nice human being. We have to find a way to open our heart to everybody. It doesn't mean we have to spend time and communicate and interact with everybody, but it's very important that we keep our heart open and don't listen to that voice of criticism and judgment in our mind. Don't judge others. Try and understand them. Try and understand what it is that motivates them, because the same thing motivates us all, I've got to be honest with you, which is the desire for security and the desire for love. It's the fundamental motivations that motivate us all. The desire for security and the desire for love. And then from that comes the desire to give love, the desire to give what's in our heart, the desire to help others, the desire to share, to contribute, to make the world a better place, to put some light into the world, to put some joy into the world, to share our joy. That's another fundamental desire that we have. But of course, at the core is a desire for security, because if we feel insecure, then we can't really do anything of any use to anybody. If we feel insecure, because we'll be driven primarily by the need to find security. So only once we feel secure can we then share the beautiful gifts that are in our heart. Only when we feel secure. So that's why it's essential that you listen to that voice which says in your heart, relax, trust. Let your guard down. Trust, even though all the information in the media and all the logic in your mind might say, don't trust, bad things are going to happen, the future's going to be dark, people are going to take advantage of you, there's going to be lots of bad things happening. Amidst all of that very convincing negativity, all that very convincing sense of threat, amidst all of that, we have to ignore it and trust our heart that if we stay in the light, if we stay in faith, if we stay in peace, then we will be safe, we will be protected, and no harm can come to us. And I promise you, this is absolutely true. So, on a practical level, disconnect from the media, stop wasting your time on YouTube, stop wasting your time listening to other people and all the negativity that other people are focusing on. It may be true to a degree, but it's not going to help you. What is going to help you is to focus on looking through that other lens, which is the lens of trust, a lens of faith, a lens of optimism, that despite all the darkness that is going on in the world, there is an equal and greater, actually, a greater force of goodness. All the darkness is just bringing up the things that need to be brought up. All the darkness, all the evil is bringing up the negative side of the human psyche so that we can see it clearly, so that we can see in ourselves how we have a tendency for that. We have a tendency to be that way ourselves, and we have to change. We have to become a person who wants purity, who wants to have a pure heart, a person who only wants to love, a person who only wants to give, a person who will not judge others, a person who will not criticize others, a person who will try and seek to understand all people and seek to help all people. A person with a pure heart, and that's what we're all aiming for. We're all aiming to purify our heart so that there is love and care and compassion, goodness, decency, and the desire to be a force for good in this world. And when you find that desire, when you focus on that desire to be a force for good, without judgment, without punishment, without resentment, anger, hostility, criticism, we focus on the desire to be a force for good, then everything supports us. Everything comes together to lift us up and to help us and to support us. So this is our destiny, this is our purpose, and it's up to us to turn in the right direction, to listen to the right voice, to trust, to open up, and to have faith that all will be well when we do so. Okay, thanks for listening to this talk. I wish you well, and God bless you.